Hello, this is Dale Matthews on this anniversary of D-Day, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike.
Hey Dale, how you doing?
We have a lot to be thankful for to people who were landing on the beaches at Normandy. I want to tell them just a very short little bit about the Normandy landings, please.
Well, 71 years ago today, a whole bunch of people braver than I stepped out of those landing craft that you can see there behind Dale, and wow, what an amazing situation! It's like facing, well, yeah, those machine gunners that you also see behind Dale. They're cutting people to ribbons, and they still had to, charge forward in the face of that. That's incredible.
Well, there were no French girls in bathing suits awaiting them on these beaches. This is what awaited them.
Yeah.
And fired straight into these killing boxes here.
Yeah.
And exactly what happened.
Yeah, and if you ever, a real good visual for that is Saving Private Ryan when they're coming out of those landing craft. They were just getting cut into ribbons, and it was, we would probably do that a little bit differently today. Maybe a few, smart bombs, with spotters leading them right into where these machine gun nests were. But I mean, it was going to be a meat grinder any way you look at it. A very good documentary type film that is out right now on Vimeo.com is the Fallen of World War II. I don't know if you got a chance to see that. I sent you a link to that, Dale. What an incredible illustration of the massive quantities of people that died during that war. Just an amazing thing. And this was kind of the beginning of the end of it, really.
It was, right. And after a beachhead was established, similar to what we've done with the Ann Basker Auditorium, then they started moving inland and started taking off piece by piece of France. And they eventually ended up in downtown Berlin.
Yes.
It was a race against the Russians. As Patton said, we should have turned the Nazis around and attacked the Russians as soon as we won. Yeah, that was politically incorrect for the time.
Yes, indeed it was. But, when people were tired of war, there would have been a whole lot more dying going on there. And, hard to say. Although the people, if you ask the people of Eastern Europe, they certainly would have preferred that we did that.
Right. Well, now we've got our own several little battles that are going on here in Grants Pass and in our county, Josephine County, and it has to do with the funding for the sheriff's department and for patrols. And we thought we'd share with you, it looks like the commissioners are headed into changing their mind about funding using road funds, which are available and has been done before. Except that it seems that Cheryl Walker is digging her heels in. She's still fighting for the levy, even though that's all done. And here's what she had to say in a recent meeting in the little back room.
My gut feeling and my instinct is no way, no how, because I do all the emergency kind of stuff, and watching what it costs. And when you have these emergency situations with the reserves that Public Works has right now, all it's going to take is one disaster and that'd be wiped out in 3 days. Gone. There would be no more. And that's just a minor disaster. We're talking about road washouts, culvert washouts, flooding, that kind of thing, or destroying, burning a bridge out or whatever. Because bridges alone, where depending it's a little tiny bridge is still $1 million. Yeah, a little bridge is still $1 million. I mean, look at the culvert they're replacing up there right now.
Yeah, Foothill, the one we did on North Holland.
Exactly. But if we had a really bad disaster, okay, and I'm not trying to be a humbug person, yeah. If we had an earthquake, there wouldn't be many bridges left, period. So Rob would have to choose which bridges is he going to do temporarily. He'd have to get temporary bridges, which was low to speed. And I tell you right now, the money wouldn't last. So he may only be able to put in one bridge across each river.
Well, even matching funds, I mean, even if we had state funding most of the cost, our matching portion
Right.
could chew up. We've got a couple million, we've got $2 million in reserves right now. And so that's not very much. And if you look at the declining fund balance in public works over the last 8 years or so, you'll see that we've been reducing our efforts to maintain the roads that we have, reducing the overall carryover for year after year. So it's not a rosy picture. It's not that we have tens of millions of dollars in Klamath, Curry, or Douglas, or
Because we keep getting compared to.
yeah. We don't have the tens of millions. We've got two.
So far.
Yeah. But it's one-time money. If you
But
spend
I'm
it,
with you, I would just want to say, no way,
Yeah.
how ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. No way, no how, ain't gonna happen. Nice. And did you notice how the... Whoop. Cheryl, stop talking. Boy, just can't shut her up. Did you notice how the finance director is saying, $2 million. Wait a minute, what happened to the $8 million? This guy has not talked about that reserve amount at all, except to denigrate it down to 2 million instead of 8 million. And he's not even laying it out as an option in front of the commissioners. Why aren't any of them saying, now, wait a minute there, Arthur O'Hare, finance director, why are you telling us and talking only about the immediate money that's available? Don't we have any money in reserve? He's not talking about it. Well,
Yep.
Here's what Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger had to say about this. She wrote this in social media. What bothers me the most about Walker is her seeming inability to be flexible in this situation. She seems more focused on possible bridge disasters than keeping her eye on the ball with law enforcement. All the time she was advocating for the tax levy, law enforcement needed more funding. Now that it did not pass, all that's forgotten. Roads Department dollars get replenished each year from gas taxes. Each year, that's right. They get matching grants and other federal road dollars. That's why our roads are in such good shape. So she can't complain about roads, so she creates the possible bridge disaster scenario. It does seem she either lacks creativity or flexibility. I'm not sure which.
Yeah. Well, and that is a real good point. The situation with her on this is that, and why I think this is such a flimsy argument, is that if you had a disaster, the likes of which they're talking about, a major flood, an earthquake, this earthquake that they're predicting, if one of those things happened and we had a bunch of road/bridge issues, we would have a lot of federal and state money pouring into this area.
Well, we haven't heard anything about possible bridge disasters and things like that all the way through this time with the levee and before that. And now all of a sudden, bridge disasters are potential bridge disasters are much more important than law enforcement. Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. No, you know what? It depends on, where you're going to get the money to fund law enforcement from. If they're getting it from you, they like that all day long. But if they're going to have to take it out of a fund they previously had control over and put it over into an area where all of a sudden they have no control, yes, they don't like that.
Well, just keep in mind that the commissioners won't get their 10% skim off the top if the money is made available in this way. And this is perhaps one of the reasons why she looks so adamant here about turning things down.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a nice one.
So one of the things that we're going to start doing once a month on First Friday is Mike and Vika Nikodian are going to go down to First Friday and ask people questions. And where were you born? Why were you born? That kind of stuff.
Yes, your social security number, you know, that sort of thing.
Your bank account number. So Mike and Viken went down to First Friday yesterday. Oh, cutting edge news for you. And they started asking people, Mike was asking people, well, what do you think about this proposed $2, it's called the $2 bill, as a matter of fact, which is kind of cute. Yes. This proposed $2 minimum tax that would be imposed by the state on, now, who do you think they're pointing this at? We're the ones with the lowest tax burden of all.
Yeah, I think there's
why people move here.
Yeah, there's only a few counties that they're aiming this at. And you know what? And well, after we're done watching the clip, we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Okay, so Mike is talking to people on the street. Go ahead, Mike. Let's watch that.
So Josephine County has a base property tax of 58 cents per thousand. And there is an Oregon constitutional amendment that is House Joint Resolution 21 that will make the base property tax $2 per thousand minimum statewide. Instead, and we have 58 cents, which I believe is the lowest in the state here now. So
it's also the lowest employment rate in the state and the lowest income in the state, and the highest probably in senior citizens. And so what they're doing is they're taking away our right to vote on things. I mean, it's no longer in our hands.
Right.
And when you take away the person's, an individual's right to vote, then you're asking for a lot of trouble.
Then we have taxation without representation.
Exactly. Thank you. Better way of saying it. Exactly. That's exactly what I meant too. And it's gonna, I mean, what's the sense of going down and voting if it's not going to do any good? And then they just take it away and say, well, we're going to give everybody a $2, you know.
I thought we were going to have to look long and hard to find smart people out here today. High five.
I've only watched the show a couple of times, so but I liked what you had to say. It was during the videotape. I actually want to use that because I want to make my own documentary, especially the part where you must be subservient to.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard a little bit about that, and no, I'm not in favor of that, simply because the whole concept of the property tax has been that's something that we've had some local control over with our vote, and I don't like that steep of, well, the amount of the increase isn't the point. It's the fact that the state is making that decision for counties as opposed to allowing us to make that decision ourselves.
Right,
that's unsettling.
And the way this would work is a constitutional amendment has to be voted on by the citizens. So they, you know, it'd be on the ballot statewide. So then many people who live in a county where their property tax rate is already over $2, they may be feeling like they're subsidizing us because we have a lower tax rate, and it's likely that that constitutional amendment could pass. It would make $2 be the minimum per thousand of assessed value property tax throughout the state. What do you think of that?
I think that's going to upset a lot of people. Times are hard right now. So people are not. I saw some guy just the other day, driving a car around with big stickers all over it. No new taxes. Obviously, he's up on all this. Right. It's like he just went. Hey, they're an evil thing that we have to have. But I think in the way that things are right now, it's probably not a great idea to try to do that. I mean, what we need to do here in this city is we need to do something for these homeless people who are all over. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, and it's kind of sad. But I don't think these people are bad. I just think, times are hard right now, and you see these people everywhere. I've become so aware of it since I've been here. I grew up in this town. I never saw that before.
How we strike this balance between paying for services we need, infrastructure upgrades that we need, law enforcement, et cetera, while at the same time, not spending tax dollars irresponsibly. I mean, that's what it's like to live in America. The tension between those two needs always exist. So really, the only issue you're asking about that I feel very strongly about at all is just that whole issue of the state deciding our property tax, which has always been a local decision. And I believe in most states, it's a local decision.
So there's an Oregon constitutional amendment being proposed. That's House Joint Resolution 21, and that will raise the property tax minimum statewide. There will be a minimum of $2 per thousand. It'll go from 58 cents to $2.
Wow, that's a big increase.
What do you think about that?
So there'll be a lot of people losing their houses and going out in foreclosures.
Well,
They can't afford
the levy just got voted down, and it would have taken the base rate up to $1.98. So it's almost exactly the same thing as this.
Yeah.
But this is permanent. This is not a levy. This is permanent. This is a constitutional amendment that makes it $2 per thousand, no matter what county you live in, as a base rate. And then, of course, everybody taxes. Well, they all tack something on to. Locally here in Grants Pass, there is a public safety levy that's on top of that, and then countywide, there's the animal shelter levy, and all these things that are stacked on top of it that make it much more. As a matter of fact, the lowest property tax rate after all the stuff is added in, schools and that sort of stuff, is over $6 a thousand in the county. But this would bump it up by $2.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
I think about all the people that jumped in and bought houses in the last 15 years, like when it came to the year 2000 and everyone thought that world was going to change and banks were giving out loans and people were moving into houses. And now if they're going to up the tax even more, we've already had so many people homeless, losing their houses, foreclosed on. Look at the numbers there. Is it going to end or help people that are already struggling or enhance the population, like the total of homelessness people, or is it just going to move more richer people in to get the lower class out? I don't agree with it.
Good question.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
You really have to be, a CEO of a tech company to live nicely in San Francisco now.
So what do you suppose would happen to people in Josephine County if we start jacking up the cost of just having a place to live?
Well, they would have to move a Google company here. Right?
Well, I like it, but
but then that forces everybody out. So it's a huge issue right now in San Francisco. People are at community meetings and people are just up in arms because of how expensive it is to live there. So
you can move up to Grants Pass anytime soon?
Well, no. I just moved there 3 years ago from Grants Pass. It's a culture shock. So this house is just around the corner from my house. And 2 weeks ago, it sold for $2.8 million.
wow.
This little teeny box. And it is about 1,800 square feet.
Wow.
And it has no lawn, no nothing around it. And just down the street from this house, neighbors of mine who live next door to each other. One of them is an attorney. The next house over, both parents are architects, and they still have trouble making mortgage payments and stuff like that.
So, Mike, would you talk just a little bit about, she was leading down the road in San Francisco toward gentrification, and could you compare and contrast that social change in our area with what people are predicting from the growing legal marijuana industry and how that might change the atmosphere, well, in a couple of ways around here.
Yeah, yes. I can't really speak to that because, to be honest, there are people that are saying, oh, this is going to be huge. There's going to be massive amounts of money coming in here. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think, the rosy view of things over here is probably not going to materialize. You're going to have somewhere in the middle. There's always going to be some balance to these things. The situation down there in San Francisco, you have a high level of taxation, high level of regulation, and on top of that, you have a bunch of tech companies and a whole lot of money pouring in there. So naturally, the prices of everything goes up through the roof. That's the opposite problem. And when I first moved here, we had that to some degree here. If you wanted to have a landscape company come over to your house, it was hard to get one to do that because they were all so busy. And when they did get here, they really, they gave you, a crazy bid that was just way on the outside. I mean, they were charging more here than they were in Napa, where I moved from in the Bay Area. And, and they didn't care whether or not they got the job or not. And so they were only doing bids where they were making far above what, the market really, actually the market did bear what they were getting. But this is the difference between, we're a poverty stricken area. We have the opposite problem here now. You're lucky to find the work anywhere and find a client has the money to pay you to do these things that they used to be able to name their price for. So it's a tricky deal.
Well, when I first came here 15 years ago, the first thing I noticed as I crossed over the border into Grants Pass, I'm looking out the window. First impression, I thought, why are all these teenage girls, just a second, sorry. Who are all these teenage girls pushing strollers? There was clumps of them. There were whole gaggles of them, and they were all young kids. And you still there, Mike?
It was a freeze up. And it lasted for about 15 seconds there. Sorry.
We're having some bandwidth problems today. Even I am, and I've got a really fast connection. So when I'm talking about, one of the things that we do for you is we try to identify patterns that are possible, that we see, and where things might be going. We're prognosticators. Okay, it means we've got large noses. And yes. Or maybe that's proboscis or something. Anyway, hibiscus. For sure, if there's a huge change or even a medium-sized change in cannabis here in this area, people are going to come in from outside to take advantage of the green gold rush. A mini one. Let's suppose Mike's right. It's a small one. They're going to be bringing with them almost certainly different social values than the old boys network holds so dear to their heart here. Mm-hmm. Some things are going to change, and they may actually come here and say, now, wait a minute, why does this commissioner say, I know we're breaking the law and I don't care? That doesn't sound right. They may have that attitude. So there's a potential that one of the reasons among the deep thinkers, and there has to be one or two, among the old boys network is about it now I'm back again. And there may be some changes that are wrought by this. And just take that one step further, if prices on homes go up and up and up, then there's a potential that this will end up in some kind of gentrification. That is, the only people to be able to afford a new home in this area would be those who are ready to join the Rotary Club.
Yeah, I don't buy into that, and I'll tell you why. Because when I got here, these people that were coming to my house to give me a bid on landscaping, they weren't Rotary people. Okay, these were people that owned businesses that were doing stuff, and they were kicking it in this town, and plumbers, builders. Landscaper people. There was all kinds of people. There was a boom happening here when I arrived, and it went on for a few years until the whole, mortgage bubble burst. So you know what? If people come in and start having money all of a sudden, there'll be money. They'll be wanting to have nice yards and nice homes, and they'll want to buy nice cars, and they'll want to buy a lot of appliances and all this kind of stuff. This is how it works.
Well, one of the things that we do know is that Cheryl Walker has said a couple of times that minors don't contribute anything to the county's bottom line, and neither do marijuana growers. She has actually kind of downplayed the whole idea of people being profitable in this area. She's in charge of economic development, and actually said, well, you can always make a donation to county government.
Yes. Well, you know what? I feel like, if they come in here and they start making money hand over fist with marijuana, it's definitely going to help the community. When somebody buys a car from the dealership up here, you're employing salespeople. They're spreading that money out through the community. They're, if you want a nice home, all the people involved in building it, all the trades that are involved in building it. All of those things that raises all boats, despite what some people who are just anti-capitalists say.
Well, and the strangest part about all this, about her, is shouldn't call her this, Mike. Come on, that's not nice.
Yes, I know.
Is that there's a big fuss made about the 214 full-time family wage jobs that would be created by putting a couple of wheelchair ramps in a state park with our money. And how's that going, by the way? And about the 90 full-time family wage jobs that are supposed to be created by putting a plaque on a rock. Why should we care if it creates 90 jobs or 9,000 jobs, since no jobs are going to be helping anybody? No, that doesn't make any sense. Why would we give $50,000 in a gift to Rogue Roasters? Probably very nice people. Why would we do
I'm
that?
Sure
since employing either, 30 people, 42 people, or 70 people?
Or 70 people. Yeah.
The commissioners don't know. They don't know. Do they care? Well, no. Creating jobs, what difference does it make? Now, wait a minute. You just said that this is a good thing, but you've said about others that it's not such a good thing. Which is it?
It's the only homegrown business that's adding something on right now. And, I guess they feel like they can say, hey, you see that? Yeah, we did that. We had.
But are they going to say that you can come and down to the courthouse and give us a gift like they were given? Because you don't contribute anything to the bottom line of the county's bank account?
Yeah.
It's a little inconsistent, do you think?
Yes. Yeah, because some people who don't contribute anything to the bottom line are somehow worthy of a $50,000 gift, whereas other people are, go away, people, you bother me.
Well, and the other thing, Simon Hare brought this up. Simon Hare brought it. Yeah, he said, I'm not really sure that a lot of companies know that this. Oh, yes, everybody knows, says Cheryl Walker. I'm not sure that everybody knows you can go down there and ask for your free handout either.
Right. Well, you know what? This was an interesting thing, because a number of us have gotten up there and said, well, you should take the economic development money and mitigate the normal burden of government on citizens by subsidizing permit fees and regulations, whatever it is that you normally put on the people from government, lift that off of them. That's going to help economic development. And he said, well, we tried that before and, it didn't work. I seem to remember that they didn't really promote that one either.
No,
and
they didn't.
I didn't hear him complaining about them not promoting that one when that one didn't produce a whole lot of results either. So, that's kind of both sides of the mouth.
Well, let's see. Let's do a balancing act here. The scales of justice. On one hand, county government could say, we're going to lessen the burden on taxpayers by making it easier, and we'll cut back on our own power. Sure, they're going to do that right away. And on the other hand, they could give away money to their friends. Which do you think any government, would be more likely to do, Mike?
Yes. I'd say the latter of those two options. And I really think that somebody ought to look into the relationship between the board and the people there at Rogue Roasters. And once again, I'm not saying anything, about these people, bad about these people, but this may be, a negative thing on the part of, their association with people on the board there. I'm
not saying, and Mike's not saying that there's anything wrong with Rogue Roasters. I don't think that there's anything wrong with some of the movers and shakers out in Cave Junction, except just as you see Simon Hare with sunglasses on the top of his head, in case he needs to bring them down and put on sunglasses right in the middle of a county commissioners meeting. Like, why? Well, they're blind to some of this stuff. I mean, they don't see, apparently, because they go ahead and vote the money every time, for people who come forward and say, hey, we've got a real shaky premise here, but we'd like you to give away money to us. Okay, you're our pals. And then other people come in, oh, no, we can't possibly do that. No, wait a minute. There is a solution to this. There's an easy solution, but we're going to have to wait a year and a half. Tell them the solution, Mike. What's that coming up in a year and a half?
That would be your chance to hit the target on the dunk tank with the softball and get rid of these current batch of rotten eggs. Whoa.
Okay. Well, okay. The primary is in May of next year. And the election is in November of next year. And then whoever the new people are, 2 new people for commissioners, one can only hope, they won't take office till January 2nd. So who's up here? Let's see. There's the county clerk. Yes. There's the county assessor. There's 2 commissioners. Yeah, buddy. There's the mayor of Grants Pass. Wow. And there's 4 counselors on the city council, and there's the mayor of Cave Junction.
So is that 50% of the city's councilors? Is it 4? So is there 8 of them total?
I believe that you're right. This is a huge turnaround. Yeah. This will determine the future of this place for about a decade, almost a decade. This has tremendous repercussions. What happens in this? We're looking for everybody that I know, except for Art Harvey, who's the county clerk, is looking for someone honest that doesn't refer to the voters as morons. There would be a start. And looking for someone that could run for this office. And I just got something in the mail today, and this is something from the county clerk's office, and it's reminding me to vote. You don't need to remind me to vote, but you remember what the big problem was during with the voters who were signing the petitions for Cheryl Walker's recall. What was the biggest problem of all? Mike, am I putting you on the spot by asking that?
Oh, no. This was their registrations were questionable. Apparently they hadn't voted in some time. And if you don't vote repeatedly or make sure that your registration is up to date, then they drop you off of the rolls, or they drop you off if they want to.
Yes, and
it,
so
it
let
appears
me
to
put
be a
these.
subjective thing.
Let me put these things on that I don't really need, of course.
Oh, yes,
And
naturally. Yes, he doesn't need glasses.
And it says here when to update your registration. Ooh, that's got to be on the list. Your residence address changes. No. Your mailing address changes. No. Your name changes. I don't think so. You want to change your political party. And brother, that's it. Now, if we're so concerned, which we're supposed to be, about people being able to vote when well, of course I can sign this. I'm registered. Yes, they were. But that's not on this little card. Now, why isn't that on this card?
How interesting. Yes, that is very interesting. Because if that is an issue, it certainly should be on that card.
It should be on this card. And the other thing that I think is real interesting is that when it comes to things like signing petitions, like to put the levy on the ballot and to get the ordinances on there, the ones that were defeated by 80%, the rejection rate has been going along kind of like this, a little up, a little down for years. And then suddenly when it came to rejecting signatures, when they got more than enough, and they were defeated by 19 signatures. And then all of a sudden that rejection rate went way up like this, way up here. Yes. And then immediately after that, to the bottom of the screen, here it is, bottom of the screen, and then proceeded along normally. What an interesting little blip in the middle of all this. But it's just a coincidence, everybody. It has nothing to do with the influence of Art Harvey personally setting aside signatures. Oh, no, no, no.
Yes, that's right. Nothing whatever to do with that.
Art Harvey. And if for no other reason, oh, well, he's just as honest as the day is long. Okay, there's plenty of questions, and it's been mentioned to me many times by some people. Well, Dale, you just don't understand. This guy's having it any way he wants. And I say, you know what? I will not live in that world. That world is not going to go up here, okay? I don't want to believe that everything that we're doing is just subverted by one guy that goes into his office with the little thing and does stuff back there because people have seen him do it. Well, what's he doing back there? Well, he's chanting to himself. What? He's taking a nap. What? Okay, it's back there with this stuff. Here's the thing. Is he dishonest? I know he's questionable. Okay. I don't want a county clerk that's questionable. Let's just simply replace him with somebody that is not questionable. That's simple.
Right. That's easy.
And then we'll let him go on and maybe run the library board, where even if it is questionable, which it is, then you don't.
It doesn't matter.
About it. Yes, right. Exactly right.
Because that's all they ever have over there anyway, so no big deal.
That's right. That's right. So those are our prognostications. Oh, sorry. Those are our pattern recognition behavior generally for the day. Mike, you did a nice job out there with people. I'd like to see a little bit more of the people in a little world according to Mike, but okay. Thank you very much. That's the kind of show that we have.
Yes.
Okay. And then I put these things out there so that you can see what Cheryl Walker has to say. What? Okay. So any other things that you'd like to add before we wave a fond farewell and wish good luck to the boys that are hitting the beaches?
Nope. That's about it.
I would much rather see video of girls hitting the beaches if it was left up to me.
Yes. Well, I'll remain speechless on that one.
Good night, everybody.
My wife may watch this show.
Oh, yes, right. Good night, everybody, and thanks for joining us.